Chad, last night we saw a championship in the World Baseball Classic. It's going to be presumably the highest watched, most watched World Baseball Classic matchup ever. That's great. And once again, Ohtani delivers in the dramatic fashion.
Great atmosphere. Terrific drama in the ninth inning with Ohtani going up against his teammate Mike Trout. And I thought Mark DeRosa, the manager for Team USA, really summed it up well. Best description I've heard about Shohei Ohtani and his greatness came from Mark DeRosa. Here's what he had to say.
Mark, you've analyzed Ohtani for years now on the network, seen him play. But like you said, leadoff guy gets on a one-run game. You got 3 MVPs coming up, double play, strikeout, tournament over. Is it possible Ohtani exceeded your expectations? And what did you see from that guy on the stage?
You know what blows me away on the stage, Tyler, is the fact that he seems to no moment's too big for him. I mean, he did not seem rattled by walking Jeff McNeil on a close pitch down. Not rattled that like you said, 3 MVPs were coming up to bat. Like you said, I've analyzed him for years since he's come over here. What he's doing in the game is what probably 90% of the guys in that clubhouse did in Little League or in youth tournaments, and he's able to pull it off on the biggest stages. He's a unicorn to the sport.
Unicorn that makes the major leagues look like Little League baseball for a great athlete that dominates their local Little League. That is what Ohtani is doing to the game of baseball. It is unbelievable. This guy just threw the hardest pitch at over 100 miles per hour and also hit the hardest baseball in the course of this tournament for the World Baseball Classic at the same time. It is better than what Babe Ruth was doing. He wasn't doing the same thing at the same time. He was a pitcher who then became a slugger. Ohtani does both of these things. Mark DeRosa went on to say that he's not overly disappointed in the result and then losing 3-2 in Japan, winning another World Baseball Classic, because he knows the baseball world won. And I agree with that. It's tough to disagree with that when I watch this tournament and how exciting it was, especially the championship game. But here's where baseball will really win: when Ohtani truly is a global icon. And it starts right here at home in the United States. This is America's pastime. And Ohtani is great enough to be a name that is up there with Mahomes, Brady, LeBron. He's not. And we can point to a lot of reasons for that. Is it where he plays with the team, with the Angels, the fact that he's not American, that he's from Japan originally? I would argue David Beckham is a much bigger name in the United States than Ohtani. He's not playing the American game also. This is the mountain. It's not a hill. This is the mountain that Major League Baseball needs to cross at some point. They've got to climb it. They've got to summit it. They got to get over it, because Ohtani is a true superstar and a unicorn unlike we've ever seen in the game of baseball. And Hutton, until that day comes where this guy's name is as big as anyone in sports, and everyone knows about him, and everyone knows his stats, and everyone's watching him when he's on the mound or when he's hitting, I just don't think baseball at the major league level in the United States is truly going to expand.
Well, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, if America didn't embrace Aaron Judge last season, are they about to hop on the Ohtani bandwagon? The answer is no. And that's not Ohtani's fault. That's not Judge's fault. That's not Trout's fault that we don't know much about these guys. But we don't. What's sad is it appears that this is as good as the sport can produce for us. Quick games, quick turnarounds, fast tournament. You have a great atmosphere. Best players in the world are playing. Best players in the world. We heard from Kurt Schilling last week, who said, best play in the world, Ohtani followed by Trout. They're up at bat, and one's on the mound for the final pitch for the championship game. And the games are ending with drama, not just the championship game. What's missing? Nothing. But very little is special anymore in sports because we have so many different options, even if we don't want sports. And the best option is Ohtani. And quite frankly, I mean, if he's on, I'm watching, but it wasn't appointment viewing for me last night. I just didn't care. And that is what we're conditioned to do now. It used to be America's pastime. It's not anymore. What's special is the NFL draft. Look at the ratings. And then compare some of the ratings for the World Baseball Classic to the worst ratings of last weekend's NCAA tournament game, or compare them to the worst Thursday night football matchup. They just don't pair up. And that's not Ohtani's fault. That's not the play. Major League Baseball is in a rut. Now, they're as close as they've been in years, Chad, to being out of that rut. They've got some individual personality traits with these guys across the country that they should lean into. I just haven't seen it to that full extent yet. And we can glow and check out all the highlights of Ohtani and say, yeah, it's a little league dream to be doing what he's doing. But I just don't think the appreciation is there, and we're seeing it right in front of our eyes. Meanwhile, Brady's in middle of his career. We're calling him the GOAT.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a different vibe with MLB. And here's the other thing. For those that don't care, they're not going to care. I do think those that do care about Major League Baseball really only care about their team. You care about the Braves or the Cardinals or the Yankees or the Orioles, if you're me. I don't care about watching random baseball games anymore. And that's where Major League Baseball has truly dropped off.
It's also, it's product overload. There's so many games, and there's just such a, you go on, I mean, once the season gets here, right now I'm going to sports sites to read things, and at the top I'm getting all the spring training scores, and I'm thinking, oh, well, here's the teaser for what we're going to have from now until October.
Right.
Because every day there's just Major League Baseball games happening, and there's so much, it's information overload, and you just don't care. You get so much information in so many games, you start to care less about it. I get all that, and it is very much a localized product. And for the most part, baseball fans only care about their teams. They're not going to watch other games or other teams. This isn't the era we grew up in where we're collecting Major League Baseball cards and learning about players and studying the back of the card for the stats and learning more about each team because we're collecting baseball cards. That's gone.
I mean, and on Wednesday nights on ESPN, we had the Wednesday night doubleheader. I mean, Seattle was a 500 team. They were on every other week on Wednesday night for the second game on the West Coast. So the argument that the Angels suck, I just don't buy if we're going back to that era and the biggest stars were playing for the Mariners. They're, roided up and more power to them. And we've got a generational player, maybe the best ever by the time it's over. And I rarely see him featured nationally.
Yes, and that's what I want to get to. And this is where, and I don't know the status of his agent representation or how many ads Ohtani does in Japan or what's going on locally in the LA market. I don't know all these things. Here's what I know. I've got a 7-year-old daughter who doesn't really watch football and doesn't care for it, but she knows who Patrick Mahomes is. Why? Because he's on insurance commercials all the time. She knows who Aaron Rodgers is. Why? Because he's on commercials constantly. She knows who Peyton Manning is, who doesn't even play anymore. How? He's on every television break, and she's tuning in for the commercials more than the sport. That's where Ohtani can take the leap. We see LeBron James on ads everywhere. Tom Brady now is going to be on ads all the time. It needs to be a crossover hit. If someone could capture Ohtani in the right funny commercial and give him some personality within it, that's going to help build his brand. We have not seen that. And baseball historically does a terrible job at pitching their superstars to the world and to the country. And it's never going to be anything if it's just a baseball-only story. I'm watching Twitter last night, and it's blowing up with people talking about the World Baseball Classic. Who was it blowing up by? Not NFL writers, not the football people, just baseball people. This was not a sports crossover hit. It was an enormous event for baseball people.
Yeah, it's the best it's been.
Ohtani, though, has to be an enormous icon for sports, not just baseball people. And to get him there, I'm not Madison Avenue, but I'm telling you, if I'm his representation, let's get him to Madison Avenue and let's get him on every available national advertisement out there and start putting him in commercials with Patrick Mahomes or putting him with other celebrities from other sports. And then when my daughter says, hey, who's that guy? He was funny. I say, oh, that's Shohei Ohtani. He's the best baseball player of our generation. And I'm talking about both of ours, between my daughter and myself. He's the best. He's the greatest baseball player. You know what he does? He pitches and he hits. And he's the best at both, or one of the best at both. So that's the next step for baseball. I don't know how they get there. There's no magic wand to just say, hey, national brands, put him on your commercials and let's get this thing going. But it's in the best interest of baseball if that starts to happen and happen soon.
Yeah, I mean, Baker Mayfield gets national brands. more than Aaron Judge. I mean, let's just put that in perspective.
Yeah.
And that's what sells. That's what moves the needle for the advertisers. They're following the trends, and it's hard to argue with a number on Thursday Night Football that Baker Mayfield at quarterback for the Rams can end up with at the end of the season, or was it Monday night, compared to, your Sunday night baseball game on ESPN. It's just not going to pull the same.
I have to explain to my daughter who Steven Adams is, because he is in AT&T commercials in every break of March Madness, because it's that commercial where everybody's on his shoulders and his arms watching the game for a good signal. And it's, oh, no, this is Steven Adams. And I'm thinking, Steven Adams is getting national play during one of the biggest sporting events in America. No one knows who Steven Adams is outside of diehard NBA people. Just because he looks different than most NBA players, maybe they know him, but they don't really know much about him. And here's Shohei Ohtani leaving games to go warm up in the bullpen and go dominate 3 MVPs in the night to win his country the World Baseball Classic. And, oh, by the way, he's maybe the best slugger or one of the 2 best in baseball also. And I'm thinking, we can't get Shohei Ohtani a commercial to explain to people who this guy is?
And let's also just throw this out there, too, which is the obvious. You had your pitcher and best player in baseball, Ohtani, on the mound against the generational player of Mike Trout, and they play for a loser.
Yep.
That also factors in. How do the Angels suck with that? Now, this is not for long. Look at he's got a contract that expires after this season, picked up a 1-year deal, right? So he's playing under the 1-year contract. Spotrac put this out and valued what his value would be as a pitcher and as a hitter. 8 years, $230 million would be the valuation for Ohtani as a pitcher. 10 years, $333 million as a hitter. And he's an everyday player who's also going to start games for you. So that's also going to be the next huge storyline in a few months. And no, it doesn't matter with the relationship between Ohtani and Trout. I'm reading this on this. I'm like, absolutely not. No. Trout barely swings and misses, period.
Yeah.
No, doesn't factor into their relationship moving forward.
Depending on the team and the setup and the situation where he goes, he may be the first person that could just say, give me $250 million and 15% of your team. I want to be a part owner in Major League Baseball when I retire.
Well, the players get everything, so I'm surprised they haven't already done that.
I mean, he could probably buy into whatever his contract is, just the legal way, and just buy a stake in a team. No, I'm not talking about majority ownership.
Right.
I'm not saying, I'll hand you my Major League Baseball club to come play for us. But do you not think that there is a desperate team out there that would want Shohei Ohtani? They'll say, I'll give you this much money, and you're going to give me a big discount on the life of the contract, and I'll give you 10% of this team.
Or Steve Cohen just gives him $600 million.
Wouldn't that be a groundbreaking negotiation? He may not want any part of it.
I know.
He may be wanting to go back to Japan when he's done and not want to own a major league team. He may want to take that $600 million Cohen gives him and buy the Tokyo Giants, when he's done playing.
Just get him out of Anaheim.
Please.
That's the other factor here.